As we await the Dallas Stars' next opponent, what have we learned about the Stars this postseason, potential X factors moving forward, and who should the Stars want to face, Edmonton or Vancouver? Let's discuss next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars find themselves in the Western Conference Final for the second straight season after taking down the Colorado Avalanche in 6 games. And to discuss that series with Colorado and discuss the Dallas Stars moving forward, a very special guest, and I think it's fair to say you're the bench boss of 105.3 The Fan, my former bench boss, but more importantly, the host of Spits and Suds, which of course is available on Odyssey and wherever you get your podcast as well. A fantastic person. I know many of my audience already knows you and knows the work you do for the Dallas Stars. Maybe not for the Dallas Stars, but about the Dallas Stars. Mr. Gavin Spittle, thank you for joining me. I was able to hop on Spits and Suds the other day, so had to extend the favor. I saw you were with Craig Ludwig the other day. Hopefully you didn't have too many Frosties. You feeling okay this morning?
So, yeah. So I immediately texted him a picture of the alcohol that I had in the suite for last night's Rangers game. And he said, I'm on my way. And then I didn't stock it with enough particular brand. So I had to get that particular brand, but we worked everything out. He stayed for the entire game.
Wow.
Innings included. The Frosties were flowing, and it was great. We were watching Edmonton, Vancouver, and checking out the Rangers. We had the Mavs on the background as well. So yeah, it was a great night, and it's always fun hanging with Luds and his cheery self.
Yes, yeah, it's been a wonderful time as a DFW sports fan as well. I mentioned the Mavericks, who of course clinched the other night. We're recording this on a Sunday, so really great stuff here from DFW sports. But we're here to discuss the Dallas Stars, who find themselves back in the Western Conference Final. I guess I'll start off with this because I would love to hear your take on it. I'll spare you for now on my goalie interference take from Game 6, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it because funny enough, I think if the league almost just came out and said, "Hey guys, we don't want the series to end on this goal, so this is what we're going with," I think a lot more people would be less upset and people would be more willing to accept it. But when you kind of throw out this pretty shoddy explanation, in my opinion, it leaves a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. What says you?
It's almost, Joey, it's almost like they doubled down, which is fascinating because I think there now is an understanding among fan bases. And I think actually this started with the NFL and pass interference, where pass interference was not being overturned. And then the notion of protecting the referees became kind of mainstream. And I think that's now integrated into the NHL, where the NHL said twice in the crease. And clearly you can see, I don't know where they got that explanation because Matt Duchene was not in the crease. And so to say that, and as soon as a couple things, I was talking with Craig about this last night. That whistle was ready to be blown. He saw that in action and he was ready to make that call if that went in, because that was a very, very quick whistle. And that was a quick wave off. I mean, you saw players didn't even get over to Mason Marchment yet. And that's how quick it was. So that call was going to be made. The referee made the decision. This is going to be the call. And I think in hockey, it is very, very tough to overturn because Toronto's best interest is kind of taken care of, making sure the head referees are, everything's okay. If Dallas had gone on to lose game 7, I was already deeming it Des Bryant 2.0.
Yes. Yes.
It would have lived in Dallas folklore sports history
Yeah.
forever. It was just a bad call, but kudos to Pete DeBoer, kudos to the coaching staff, and kudos to the players. Joey, they came out firing after that. You could tell they were ticked off. And it's amazing the switch that went on in the third period and carried over into overtime. And hockey is so much about momentum, as you know, and I just felt as though the Stars had all the momentum after that. So it was, sure, Colorado had some chances, but most of the time it was in the Colorado zone. It was like 2 games, the first and second period, and then the third period in overtime.
Yeah, they finally started to find a rhythm. And you mentioned the quick whistle from the linesman. I don't think I even reacted to the goal as well. Just as a fan, I just thought, oh damn, that sucks. Like goaltender interference, because I think I'm somewhat indoctrinated to just believe, yeah. I mean, the ref had it and he's right there, And then I saw the replay, and then that's when I'm jumping up and down, and I'm like, that's a goal, that's a goal. And this isn't just a Stars Avs series problem. I mean, the Tampa Bay series had 4, I think, goaltender interference questions, and some of those were very, very ticky-tack. And I think what all NHL fans want is just some consistency. Yeah. And it hasn't been the most consistent so far. I think out of the 6 challenges or league initiated reviews, only one of them has been overturned so far throughout the postseason, which is okay if you want to double down on the call. But when it's clearly wrong, and you don't get a lot of people in the NHL sphere or anything nowadays to almost universally agree that was a goal. I never saw a single comment mentioning, well, that was goaltender interference. You don't see that a lot. There's usually always somebody that's on an island, and you didn't see that.
Yeah, I think they have to meet, and they meet every year on different rule changes. And I don't know if a lot of Stars fans realize this yet, but delay of game will be reviewed next year. And that was a factor in the game as well. So, and my immediate thought is how do you come up that delay of game is going to be called starting in October? Why not just institute it in the playoffs? It's not like anything changes. It's still delay of game, and you kind of have a higher ceiling in the playoffs as far as, a power play in the playoffs is such great currency. So I think they need to go back and they need to talk about goalie space. And I think that's where it starts. And then players, forwards can understand, okay, this is where I can be. And I don't know if that's possible. But listen, I think we can all agree Georgiev was lost on the play and didn't see the puck.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it. And it was almost appeared as though he was more interfered because he didn't go back and go for the puck. Yeah. So, and then to top it off, the Cale Makar kind of slight shove that pushes him even more in. And our understanding is if the defensive player pushes into the goalie, that is not goalie interference. So we saw Duchene not in the crease. Then we saw a push, and I think that's why everyone was confused. But karma, it's a beautiful thing. If you had the right to bet and you threw money on Duchene after that, you're a smart person. And it all works out in the end.
Yeah, Dutchie got the overtime winner, which was fantastic. All right, we'll move off of the reviews and all that stuff. It can be exhausting sometimes trying to figure out what the NHL wants and what the referees want. But you already mentioned some of what helped Dallas in Game 6, especially in overtime. Their overtime periods in general throughout the postseason have been really nice. I mean, even in the Game 1 loss against Colorado, I thought they they were at least generating some of the better looks in that game. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on the Colorado series in general. And how about Petrovic, by the way? I thought he stepped in and was great. You talk about Niels Lundqvist, and I talked about it after the game. I don't know if Niels would have reached 10 minutes in that hockey game of game 6. And Petrovic comes out, a really, really tough job, but he's a veteran and steps in, and the game just didn't look fast for him. I thought that was something I noticed where Niels, he's played okay throughout the postseason, but you can just see sometimes the game is moving a bit too quick for him. Petrovic stepped in, and the Stars look good with a full lineup. I know they're without Rope, but looked really, really nice with having a full deployment of defensemen.
Yeah, so we have to go back actually to the Texas Stars, which is kind of fascinating. So they had just finished a series with Milwaukee. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job. They were up 2-0, but then Milwaukee tore off 3 straight. But Petrovic in that series was playing power play time, and he was averaging about 21 minutes. So it's not like he came off the street and was, he was NHL ready as far as minutes. The thing that I liked, and the thing that I talked to Luds about last night that he really liked, 2 things that I think Niels Lundqvist has struggled at. Net front presence, as far as being in front of the net, and Petrovic is a big guy, 6'4", 6'5". It's a lot easier for him to handle someone. And the other thing is, I thought he did a really nice job as far as winning the puck along the boards and controlling the boards. And that's something that Niels Lundqvist has also struggled at. So you could play him in the defensive zone and you didn't have to worry as much, because a lot of times, like to give you an example, a game or 2 against Colorado, Harley does the outlet pass. It ends up going to Dodonov with that sweet, remember that saucer pass to Sagan? Niels Lundqvist was +1 on that play because he came on the ice offensively. Because Harley skated off. And that's how they were using Niels Lundqvist, was basically in an offensive situation. And for those people that, Joel Hanley did play more, but Joel Hanley was being played the same way when he was in Dallas. Very offensive minded. Now you have more of a defensive defenseman in there. He's not going to, blow you away, but I thought he played really solid. The other thing is he's an NHL veteran.
Yeah.
And I think that is, so great when you can put a guy in there. I know a lot of Stars fans want Liam Bichsel. It's coming. But it was the right move. And we have to say, congratulations, Pete DeBoer. That is a, amazing accomplishment to take a guy out, put Petrovic in, not only that, but to switch the lines in the third period, when it was necessary. It just seems like DeBoer is pushing the right buttons as far as when to put Dodonov in, when to take Faksa. You took Faksa out after a massive goal, probably the best goal in his life, and then you healthy scratched him. So guys are getting scratched not because of their play, which shows the Stars' depth. So I love it, and I agree. We will not see Niels Lundqvist.
Yeah, Petrovic too. He shocked me by the sheer size. I just forgot how big he was. He stepped out. I was like, "Oh, that's different."
Yeah, I know.
He looks different from Lundqvist, and he played great, made a few plays, but nothing spectacular. And that was sort of what Joel Hanley was kind of doing. Wasn't a liability a whole lot, just kind of an even player, right? He, never too up, never too down. So great. And Pete DeBoer has been just fantastic as the bench boss for the Dallas Stars. And I was scrolling through Twitter and saw this. He's taken now five of the last 6 seasons, 3 different teams to the Western Conference Final. Yeah. That's pretty remarkable for a head coach in the Western Conference in some pretty tough divisions, or at least with some pretty tough team. What do you make of Pete so far? I mean, it's hard to be critical after the first 2 years.
I mean, 2 years, 2 Western Conference Finals, taking out 2 amazing coaches, Bednauer and Bruce Cassidy, back-to-back Stanley Cup champs, and taking them out. That's really, really impressive. The other thing that sticks out, Joey, is the video that came out that was mic'd up of the line against Vegas, and how many of those Vegas players embraced and wished him good luck. And then we see, after the Colorado series, Zach Parise, who came out of retirement, says that now that we're out, yes, I will kind of be rooting for the Stars because of Pete DeBoer. That says so much when players that have once played for him and have had other coaches say the things they say about Pete DeBoer. And we all know coaches in the NHL wear out their welcome. It's all about W's, and quick triggers in the NHL happen all the time. So, I mean, we look at Edmonton, Vancouver, and, those are basically two fresh coaches.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things that, it happens. So I think Pete DeBoer, throughout his time in Dallas, has pushed all the right buttons, has answered the right questions. When he was asked about Joe Pavelski early in the season, he quickly pointed out Jason Robertson last year and Robertson's struggles in the playoffs, and then Robertson got going. So to have that in your mindset and to not really go into depth on Joe Pavelski, one of your leaders, but to quickly, look back at last year, I thought that was a really smart, well-timed answer.
Every head coach is looking for that John Cooper deal at this point. and maybe if Pete gets it done, maybe we see that sort of thing here in Dallas, which would be nice. I mean, the Stars have kind of cycled through some coaches recently, so they would love some continuity. And he's certainly been fantastic. Alrighty, let's move on to some potential X factors moving forward, and some more things about this Dallas Stars squad that we like so far throughout this postseason, and we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts are on hand to help talk you through it. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step, and you can easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed support team, and they have no incentive to recommend you one insurer over the other. So you can trust their guidance. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. It's all about finding the best fit for your needs. It's going to be different from anybody else you know. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL. Alrighty, as we move along here on Locked On Stars, the host of Spits and Suds, Gavin Spittle, with us. Thank you so much. Once again, I'll say it at nauseum. I really, really appreciate you coming on, because I'm sure plenty of people are tired of hearing me just talk for 30 minutes a day. So good to get somebody else on.
I will say this, my friend, stick tap to you and stick tap to Locked On Stars and what you've been able to do as far as the growth of this program. And one of the reasons we started Spits and Suds was Stars fans felt as though they weren't getting enough content. And now they have your podcast. Now they have Spits and Suds. And, I mean, even on 105.3 The Fan, we've made it a point to try to talk, and you've been a great guest. So thank you for that, as far as talking Dallas Stars hockey. And isn't it great? So, thank you for having me. It's awesome to expand and be talking Stars and the excitement in town. And it's really cool that, I saw several tweets regarding, and it was one picture of the Mavs, one picture of the Stars. What an amazing time to be a DFW sports fan.
Yeah, first time in history that the Mavs and Stars have both made the respective conference finals. Hockey in May and hockey in June, man. It's the absolute best. Let's segue into Jake Oettinger a bit. He's been a very divisive topic, I feel like, throughout the regular season. It's died down a bit because he's been fantastic, and I've made the comparison to Dak Prescott in some ways. I know it's a lot different with the magnitude of the Cowboys, but sometimes it feels like you either believe he's sort of a top 5 goaltender, or you believe he's just really mediocre. And you'll never get that out of your mind in some ways. And look, he's really easy to jump on when he gives up a goal or two, just because he's the goaltender and he's the last line of defense. But man, throughout this postseason, every single time you need him to step up, He does, and he gets better as a series goes along. It seems like game one is not the same with him. He gives up 4 to Colorado, and then he pretty much shuts them down kind of the rest of the way outside of game 5. And he's looked good so far. I mean, 918 save percentage, 209 goals against average. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but boy, in those big moments, he seems to get it done.
Yeah, I think your comparison is actually right on in that, Dak Prescott is a polarizing figure when he's on the field. As far as if they lose, it's all on Dak Prescott. If they win, how much is on Dak Prescott? Well, if Dak did this more, it's like you can never win.
Yeah.
And I think that Jake Oettinger is the same way. I mean, this guy has been a winner his entire life. Was on a very, I would say, below average Boston University team and still posted a great goals against and a good save percentage, drafted high from Dallas, quickly made his way through the ranks. I just think that it's one of those things. Goalies are going to let up goals in the playoffs. That's the reality. And I'll take, when you look at, who's remaining, if Thatcher Demko's healthy, I think we have a debate. But we don't know about his health. But you prefer Jake Oettinger or the carousel known as the Edmonton Oilers goaltender situation? Yes. Exactly. So, it's one of those things that, I think Jake Oettinger is top 5, top 6 in the league. I think, when he's on, what I love most about Jake Oettinger, a listener asked me, and it was cool. I think they took the person that scored the first goal for the Stars the other day. Yeah, they took Jamie Benn. So, and they asked me, they're like, "Who you taking?" Expecting me to say a goal scorer, and I said, "I'm taking Jake Oettinger." And Pete DeBoer points out in back to, after a loss, there is no one better in a bounce back game.
Yeah.
So you knew that was on Jake Ottinger's mind, and what I love is the quiet confidence that he has, and he rises to the occasion. He loves playing on the road. He loves playing in Minnesota because that's where he's from and his parents are in the crowd. He loves playing in Boston because that's where he played his college hockey. So anytime you see those on the schedule, know that that's a pretty good game to bet that Jake Oettinger is going to be, super focused. So, I mean, I kind of like take a step back and say, remember what we had. And I think this run of Stars goaltending has been really, really good. When you look at Bishop, and he was a Vezina finalist when with the Stars, and Hudobin went on a great run, and now we have Oettinger. So I think that's been a massive key to the blossoming of this Stars team. And I think his players, more specifically, have incredible confidence in him. And when you have confidence in your goaltender, you allow a little bit more leeway, and so I don't panic when he lets in 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. And yes, he had the other night, he let in probably 2 bad goals. Yes. But goalies do that.
You're going to have stinker. And you lead me sort of into my next point about, I think as Stars fans, we've been spoiled with goaltending, at least throughout my lifetime. I mean, the goaltenders have been really good. I mean, outside of a few of those really, really tough years in the early 2010s, I mean, the Stars have had really, really nice netminders, and maybe we were spoiled with what Otter did in his first postseason series against Calgary. And we expect him to be at that level every single time, where he was just unbeatable. And it was like, oh my God, how is this guy doing this?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to match.
Absolutely. One of the things, Joey, too, is interesting is that I think there is a romanticism regarding the style of the goaltender.
Yeah.
In other words, Tim Thomas and Anton Hudobin, when they make saves, it's so flashy.
Turco for some of that too.
You're sprawling all over the place, and unbelievable. And it's like, oh my God. And then you have a Ben Bishop and you have a Jake Oettinger with that size. And there are some guys with size, that have that style as well. But when you look at Jake Oettinger, he makes the saves. And that's what matters at the end of the day. You got a guy that's 6'5", 6'6", in between your in between your pipes. And as young as he is, and you have him locked up now for a couple more years, you know, I mean, I think Stars fans should be happy. He's taking you now to 2 Western Conference finals. I think sometimes the focus when a goal is let in sometimes has to be on the defense as well. But that's our job to tell why that it was the defensive fault, not the goaltender.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he has some of that swagger entering the Western Conference final, because you mentioned it's that cool and quiet confidence sometimes, especially that Game 7 against Vegas. Man, he was stout down the stretch, holding on to a 1-0 lead. I was actually asked this by Blake of 105 through the Fan yesterday. I thought it was a great question, and he almost kind of stumped me. Just what do we know about the Dallas Stars so far in the postseason? What are we learning? Maybe something you didn't know in the regular season. What is your take on that?
Wow, that is a really, really good question. I'm glad Blake asked that question to you.
I just feel like we almost expected this in a lot of ways. I feel like for the first time in a while, we expected Dallas to make it to this point. Maybe not the Western Conference final, but to be in the mix. And they've kind of shown that for a large stretch of the year.
I think what my perception has been is the styles that have normally given the Stars issues are no longer factors. In other words, you just played 2 teams that during the regular season gave you a lot of issues, and they're heavy and they come at you hard. And we saw in prior years that really hurt the Stars as far as getting out of their own zone. And that slowed down the speed factor for the Stars. And the Stars have found a way to win a lot of the board battles and get it out of their zone quick. I think 2 factors are huge in this. One is the development of Thomas Harley. He had a tough game the other night, but you know, just this is going to happen. He's developing as a player. Once again, we forget this guy's in his early 20s. And he came up last year. Like, he's playing first line. And we're just like, you know, if he makes a mistake, it's like, oh my goodness, you know, I mean, this is only his second playoffs. And then, you know, we do a couple of segments on Spits and Suds, and you know, we can't come up with creative names, so we just call one segment Wyatt Johnston and the other segment Chris Tanev.
Yes,
because you cannot go a podcast without talking about either. And what Chris Tanev has done on that back line, as far as the calmness, as far as the reduction in minutes, the puck carrying ability, everything you want and more in a trade. Jim Nill should win GM of the year just for that trade. Absolutely. So I think, and you know, we started to see it in the last game against Colorado in the regular season, which actually was a big game. Remember, they went into Colorado and first place was on the line. And they, you know, hammered Colorado. And that was the first time we saw Chris Tanev Dallas Stars against the Colorado Avalanche. So I think that's the difference. They are teams that they normally struggle against, heavy teams, physical teams. They've beat them 2 in a row. Now it'll be interesting because now stylistically in this next series, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on the stylistic and tactical challenges. That was something that worried me about Colorado. I thought Dallas was better. I thought they were deeper, but just with the way Colorado plays, it's very helter-skelter. And as you mentioned, we've seen Dallas really, really struggle with that. And they struggled with it to some degree in the series, but for the most part, they really shut it down. And they shut down Makar and McKinnon just enough, to end up with a series victory. And it's funny you name your segments on Spits and Suds. We have a running joke. It's Locked On Wyatt Johnston sometimes. In the month of March, I think it was Locked On Wyatt Johnston every day. I'm like, I don't know who else to talk about. He just seems to be the only guy that's scoring in it, and he's been phenomenal so far. And oh God, he's just burst onto the scene. Can't wait for what's to come out of him at just 21 years old. And Harley's in his early 20s. Otter's in his early 20s for that matter. So
it's really, well, I don't think we've had this in Dallas Stars history where you're the top seed and you're fighting to go to the Stanley Cup. And the AHL MVP is going to come up next year. And a kid in his early 20s that's 6'6" without skates, and Liam Bichsel, if you want to bring him up. And I mean, kudos to the scouting staff and
Mhm.
Jim Nill. They are just producing prospects and they're not trading them away.
Nope,
And
nope, not at all.
it's a
The opposite of Vegas.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
The
Yeah, and
opposite of
that
Vegas.
allows you, yeah, absolutely. That allows
Mhm.
you cap flexibility. If
Yeah.
you do need to re-sign somebody like Chris Tanev, don't let him leave town.
Mhm.
That's something that you can do because
Mhm.
you can replace, somebody with a Maverick Bork.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's been fantastic stuff from the front office in general. Alrighty, as we move on, who do you want to face in the Western Conference Final? Who do the Stars want to face? Who should they? Who should they want to play? We'll answer that question in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also it keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. Just like the Dallas Stars. They found Chris Tanev at the trade deadline, and he has been a great fit. Just like eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Alrighty, as we record this on a Sunday, we still do not know who the Western Conference final opponent will be for the Dallas Stars. Game 7 gets underway tonight as you're taking this episode in. And Edmonton, man, they beat the brakes off sort of Vancouver the other night. When you give them that many power plays and special teams, that's a very, very tough team to beat. I'll be honest, Gavin, I think in my opinion, I think Dallas it's just going to be, they're going to be better. They're probably going to be favored against whoever they play. And maybe outside of Thatcher Demko, I think you have to like your Stars' chances against both sides. So I pose the question to you, who should the Stars want to face? Maybe not who you want to face, but maybe it lines up too as well. Oilers or Canucks, who do you got?
I think Vancouver takes this series, but
Love it.
I'd like to see Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they've already gone through a gauntlet, so might
yeah,
as well add the best player in the world.
absolutely. Absolutely. And here's
Yeah.
why. I think that you just mentioned Thatcher Demko, and I don't want to face Thatcher Demko. And I also, that blue line of Rick Tocchet has improved over the season. And that's a very good defensive Vancouver team. And I like their depth more than I like Edmonton. I
Okay.
think the Stars can match the speed of Edmonton. And I'd much rather go against the Edmonton carousel of goaltending, where I think the Stars can be more effective. So both very good teams. It's going to be very tough either way. This is not, I feel like people are now expecting, the Stars to go to the Stanley Cup, and I want to put the brakes on. Vancouver had an awesome season. And we need to look back at what Edmonton has done, as far as they were at the bottom of the Western Conference, very St. Louis Blues-like what they're doing this year. If they can make it to the Western Conference Finals after making a coaching change and just reigniting that Edmonton team, that's really impressive. They've also gotten better on the blue line. So I think it's going to be tough either way, but I'm going to go by what I saw during the regular season. And I just think the Stars matched up better against Edmonton.
Yeah, I like your point about the goaltending situation. Like, obviously, Vancouver's down to their third string goaltender, but there is sort of a comfort for the Canucks in a way that they know who's starting. Like, it's Sheloff's. At this point, he is going to carry them. In Edmonton, it feels like every other day, you don't know what you're going to get out of Skinnerd. You don't know whether he's going to be good enough to start. You don't know mentally how he's going to be. And that's a tough spot to be in, especially in a Western Conference final, going up against a Dallas team that just sort of knows who it is. And Edmonton, especially in net, just I don't think knows. I don't think we know, and I don't think they know as well who's going to show up to the rink that day. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have a preference in a lot of ways. I think they're both very, very interesting. I've loved Vancouver throughout the regular season. They're young. One of their unsung heroes, I think, is Connor Garland
Oh yeah.
and Anthony Joshua. That line in general with those
Yeah.
two paired together just wreak havoc. And
Yeah.
they're like little water bugs out there. Garland's like sort of a Stankoven-esque
Very
player,
much.
just grinding around. He's a smaller player, but has such a huge impact. And I think the matchups in general will be great. If you get Vancouver, you get Hughes, you get Heiskanen, of course. You got Brock Besser, who just had an incredible season. But yeah, the Oilers are intriguing, man, just because you get McDavid and Draisaitl. They scare me just because they get so many power plays, and special teams has such a huge impact on the postseason. And if you give them 3 power plays a night, it's going to be really, really tough to beat, even with their shoddy net minding at times. Because I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl are 2 top 5 players in the game, or at least top 10. We can comfortably say within the top 10. They're going to get their looks. And we were saying that about McKinnon and Makar at nauseum here a week ago, and they're the same way. What do you make of Edmonton in throughout the postseason so far? I mean, obviously the net minding's been meh.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer, and he doesn't get talked about, but I mean, he was the top pick in the draft. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is one of those guys that, just puts up solid numbers every year. He's very good defensively. I think Edmonton does have, some depth. And I do think they, that third and fourth line of Edmonton can cause some issues. So, but you're right. It does come back to goaltending. You mentioned Connor Garland for Vancouver, and this kid has been cut, growing up, and it just was told he was too small. And I mean, when you watch him, he plays like he's 6'4". So, I mean, he is just, you got to love water bugs in this league, or pinballs that just get hit and get right back up. Like you said, Stankoven. So, Edmonton's speed, it's very much like watching Nathan McKinnon for Stars fans. Like, Edmonton is going to score goals. Edmonton is going to look amazing on the power play, but they do draw calls, and that is a concern. And the Stars need to stay out of the box. And they did a really good job overall against Colorado, because that could have been a lot worse. When they did go in the box, we saw what happened a lot of times. And I mean, it's just, these power plays are just so good. And the other thing that power plays do is they take you out of your rhythm, because, you almost have to switch your lines for a couple of minutes, because you got to give some guys some rest. And the Stars obviously play a lot of their, main I mean, Wyatt Johnston's on the kill. There are, a lot of the guys for the Stars. And that's where I think if you can get Hakanpää back, that's not bad, because, he's been really good on the penalty kill. I am worried about Edmonton's speed and Hakanpää coming back.
That'll be a tough assignment.
Exactly. Sure. And then there's Roope Hintz. Does Roope Hintz come back? And that's going to be another question, because Roope Hintz can match that speed of Edmonton. And I think this is a series that Roope Hintz can do some damage in. And so that's another reason that, I like, the Stars playing Edmonton. I just like that, because the Stars can match speed. And, I think Edmonton will be a lot less physical than Vancouver as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the best thing out of all of this is the Stars finished it out in 6 games, and the Oilers pushed it to 7. That certainly helps. And now the Stars get it's going to be 3 or 4 days of rest. I mean, first time they've had 2 consecutive days since in between games 2 and 3 against Vegas. They have played a lot of hockey, and Pete DeBoer mentioned that the club was on fumes a bit, and you could see it in parts of game 5 and 6. They were giving it their all, but in that first 2 periods against Colorado, it's just they were pushing, they were on E, and they were just trying to give themselves a chance, and they did, and that's sometimes all you have to do at this time of year. Stars gave themselves a chance, and they won, but now they get some much needed rest. I'm curious about Roope, because he's a big loss. He certainly is. I think the Stars are going to be fine without him, but look, I can't make the argument that they're going to be better or even on the same level to some degree, just because, he makes such an impact. Any final thoughts about the Dallas Stars? Any unsung heroes you think maybe move forward? It seems like there's always those stories throughout postseason. Anybody that has your eye moving forward here
I
for
think,
the Stars?
yeah, I mean, I just want to say there was so much hate toward Ryan Suter, and probably most of it was justified last
Yeah,
year. I think we need to take a step back and say Ryan Suter's had a very good year,
very
and
good.
moving him to the third line pairing. I mean, this is a guy that was first line minutes last year, and now he's third line, I mean, third pairing minutes. So,
Yes.
um, I think Ryan Suter overall has played pretty well. And you look at it, Ryan Suter, I think people have to understand Ryan Suter was playing with a different defenseman basically every single shift,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
they obviously practice a lot together and everything like
Mhm.
that. But, I think he's kind of unsung.
Yeah.
And as far as like how he's played, and everyone's talking about Tanev and Johnston, and as well they should. I think the other guy is Tyler Seguin. We're seeing
Yeah.
a healthy Tyler Seguin now, and it seems as though that burst a little bit has come back, and he's playing really well. He's also a good two-way player now.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't always the case. Ken Hitchcock really kind of
Mhm.
got in his head about becoming a better two-way player, to the point where Seguin was on the kill several times. So,
Yeah.
I wanted to shout out, him. Mason Marchman's making a difference. Every time he goes in and mucks it up, I'm worried about a penalty, but that's what you have to do in the playoffs. So,
Mhm.
so I think probably the focus on Suter and Seguin, and maybe this is Miro's coming out party.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, we're used to him, but I think nationally, and I think that's cool that people are talking finally about the Dallas Stars nationally.
yeah. Yeah. No, they're in that
But
conversation. They're in the sphere, which is good. They've put themselves there.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I don't think it's any fault of the national. Like,
No, no.
I'll just say this: like, all right, Edmonton, obviously, Draisaitl, McDavid. You look at Colorado,
Yeah.
McKinnon, McCarr. You look at Vegas, Eichel. I mean, like, these are superstars, and when you look at the
Yeah.
Dallas Stars, they don't really have that elite front
Mhm.
page superstar, but they have a team.
Yes.
And in the NHL playoffs, team goes a long
Mhm.
way. So, I mean, you can go down to the captain who's played some valuable minutes and really contributed in these playoffs, and how bad he wants it. And, I mean, heck, Joe Pavelski, who just couldn't get on the score sheet, but the last two games, I thought played well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I
I mean,
mean, it's,
credit to him for digging that puck out in OT.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most people would go in a shell,
Yeah.
and be upset. But, Joe
Yeah.
Pavelski's Joe. And, it's just, I love the interview the other day they did with him in between periods. And in between periods, I always find is difficult because you just want to get in the room.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's
We gotta
heard the
get pucks
Wyatt
in
Johnston.
deep. We gotta do it.
Yeah. So you live with Wyatt Johnston, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like been
exactly.
asked probably 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Yet he goes
Mhm.
into detail that, after practice or after a game, they sit around and they chat for a while, and then just, they spend quality time together. And he talks
Mhm.
about Wyatt Johnston being a part of his family. And I mean, that kind of like coaching from a veteran like that just speeds up Wyatt Johnston's
Yeah,
development.
yeah.
So, can't give enough credit for that. So it's just been, I, I almost like, and I'm not saying like I think the Stars are the better team against Edmonton and
Yeah,
Vancouver, but what a run it's been. And I think
yeah.
Stars fans should, regardless of what happened, say this was an incredible run.
Yeah, yeah, and I prefaced that at the beginning of the Western Conference Final last year. Just enjoy this part of the year. It does not happen every season, and the Stars have done it 3 times now in the last 5 years. That's really remarkable. That does not happen all the time. Ask the Carolinas of the world,
Yeah.
and even San Jose's. Like, you can have some really good teams, and it just doesn't always factor in. And I love your answer too. And I feel like if I asked you unsung hero for the next 30 days in a row, you could give me a different answer. I
Yeah.
think that's what makes the Stars so great. There's just so many different guys you just don't want to forget who have such big impacts every single night, and that's what the Stars are putting together. They got a team. They got a team, and we'll see how they fare here in the next few days. Game 1 of the Western Conference Final on Thursday night. Looks like we're going to get some decent start times, which is nice. We got a 7:30 start on Thursday. Who knows what it's going to be in Edmonton? It could be some late nights there in Western Canada. But boy, I'm super pumped for it. Super thrilled to have you on, Gavin. Thank you so much for joining us. We went on for about 45 minutes today, so that's awesome.
Yeah, let's do it again, man.
Yeah,
this is the time. I mean, this is great, and we all love talking hockey. And the more content for Dallas Stars fans, the better.
Absolutely. Be sure to check out Mr. Spittle, the Hockey Hawk. I forgot to even mention your nickname. Man, it took me 45 minutes to do that. The Hockey Hawk on Spits and Suds. It's on Odyssey. It's on wherever you get your podcast as well, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you once again. Alrighty, Stars fans. Game 1. We got a few days to chew on this. Gavin, we'll catch up with you again throughout this postseason, I'm sure. Have a great rest of your day, Stars fans, and we'll see you tomorrow. So long, everybody.